as Alice wandered the twisted paths of Wonderland. She came across a strange and eerie forest. The trees were gnarled and twisted, and their branches seemed to reach out towards her as if trying to grab her. As she walked deeper into the forest, she began to feel a sense of unease. She could hear strange whispers in the wind, and the trees seemed to be moving in ways that were not natural. Suddenly, she saw a figure emerge from the shadows. It was the Cheshire Cat, grinning from ear to ear.
"Hello, Alice,"
he said.
"What brings you to this dark and twisted forest?"
Alice took a step back, feeling a sense of fear. She had always found the Cheshire Cat to be a mysterious and unpredictable character, and she wasn't sure if she could trust him.
"I'm just exploring,"
she said cautiously.
"What about you? What are you doing here?"
The Cheshire Cat's grin widened.
"Oh, I just love the darkness and the shadows,"
he said.
"It's the perfect place for a cat like me."
Alice shuddered, feeling a sense of unease. She knew that she had to be careful around the Cheshire Cat, for he was a creature of chaos and mischief. And yet, despite her fear, she found herself drawn to him. There was something about his grin and his strange, otherworldly presence that intrigued her. As she continued on her journey, she couldn't help but wonder what other strange and mysterious characters she would encounter in the dark and twisted paths of Wonderland. In what seemed like no time, Alice had been wandering for hours, lost in the twisted and dark Wonderland. She had left her companions long ago, hoping to find her way back to the surface. But the labyrinthine paths of the Mad Hatter's domain had trapped her, and now she was at his mercy. She stumbled upon the Hatter's tea party, but it was not the whimsical affair she had once attended. Instead, the Hatter presided over a grim gathering of broken and twisted creatures, their eyes hollow and empty. They had been transformed by the Hatter's dark magic, and they awaited his every command. Alice gasped as the Hatter turned to face her, his eyes gleaming with malice.
Well, what do we have here?"
he said, his voice laced with sinister amusement.
"Lost, are we?"
Alice backed away, her heart pounding in her chest.
"Please, Mr. Hatter. I just want to find my way back home,"
she said, her voice trembling. The Hatter's eyes narrowed.
"Home? What use is home to you now? You're in Wonderland, dear Alice. And you're mine to do with as I please."
Alice shuddered at the Hatter's words, realizing too late that she had stumbled into his trap. She had heard stories of the Hatter's cruelty, but she had never imagined it would be this gruesome. The Hatter gestured to his twisted minions.
"Do you see them, Alice? These are the creatures I have made, and they do my bidding. And you, my dear, will join them. You will become one of my loyal servants, forever trapped in this twisted Wonderland."
Alice's heart sank as she realized the Hatter's plan. She had to escape, but the Hatter's magic was too strong. She was trapped, with no hope of rescue. But then, a glimmer of hope. The Hatter was not invincible, and he had a weakness, his own pride. Alice swallowed her fear and spoke up.
"Mr. Hatter, you're famous for your tea parties, are you not?"
The Hatter looked amused.
"Why, yes, I am. But what of it?"
"Well, I've always heard that the best tea parties have cakes. Perhaps you could indulge me in a little cake before you, turn me into one of your servants?"
The Hatter's eyes glittered.
"Cake, you say? Why, of course. I am an excellent baker, if I do say so myself. Follow me."
Alice breathed a sigh of relief as the Hatter led her to his kitchen. She knew that if she played her cards right, she could turn the Hatter's pride against him. The Hatter busied himself in the kitchen, preparing a magnificent cake. Alice watched him closely, searching for any weakness she could exploit. And then, she saw it, a small gap in the Hatter's defenses. He had left his wand on the kitchen counter, within her reach. Alice waited until the Hatter's back was turned, and then she seized the wand. She brandished it at the Hatter, who turned to face her, his eyes wide with surprise.
Off with their heads!
She cried, pointing the wand at the Hatter. The Hatter stumbled backward, his eyes bulging in terror. And then, with a puff of smoke, he was gone, vanquished by his own pride. Alice smiled, triumphant. She had escaped the Hatter's clutches, and she was one step closer to finding her way back home. But as she turned to leave the kitchen, she saw the twisted creatures of the Hatter's domain staring at her. Alice stood frozen in the doorway, her wand still in her hand as the Hatter's twisted minions advanced towards her. She knew she had to act fast if she wanted to escape from them as well. She took a deep breath and pointed her wand at the creatures.
Stop!
She commanded, and to her surprise, they obeyed. They froze in their tracks, their empty eyes fixed on Alice. Feeling empowered by her recent victory over the Hatter, Alice decided to try another trick. She lowered her wand and spoke in a commanding voice.
Return to your true form.
She said, hoping her words would break the Hatter's spell and free the creatures from his control. To her amazement, the creatures began to twitch and writhe, their twisted forms contorting and shifting until they became something new. They were no longer twisted and broken, but instead, they had become beautiful and strange creatures that belonged to the world of Wonderland. The creatures looked at each other in amazement, as if seeing themselves for the first time. And then they turned to Alice, their eyes filled with wonder and gratitude.
Thank you.
One of them said, its voice high and melodious.
We thought we were doomed to serve the Hatter forever.
Alice smiled, feeling a sense of pride and accomplishment. She had saved the creatures from the Hatter's dark magic and had helped them find their true form. As she turned to leave the Hatter's domain, she felt a sense of sadness. She had been so eager to leave Wonderland behind, but now she realized that there was still so much to explore and discover. And so, she decided to stay a little longer, to wander the strange and twisted paths of Wonderland and see where they would lead her. She knew that the road ahead would be dangerous and full of challenges, but she felt brave and strong, ready to face whatever lay ahead. Alice smiled, knowing that her journey in Wonderland was far from over, and that she would meet many more strange and fascinating characters along the way. She felt a sense of excitement and adventure, eager to see where her next steps would lead her.